Hey guys, this is Mugalord here, and I'm back again with another video. Today I just want to do a little bit something different. I really want to discuss my backlog of RPGs that I have yet to actually get around to actually completing. And it's crazy because it seems like that my backlog is definitely going to increase even more, knowing the fact is that this fall is going to be pretty much booked as far as RPGs are concerned. We got Valkyrie Elysium that's coming out in September, and we also have DioField Chronicles, which is actually a strategy RPG that's coming out in September as well. And then followed after that in October, we're getting also a new Star Ocean entry, which is also ridiculous. That's crazy. And we also can't forget in November we're getting the remaster of Tactics Ogre Reborn, which is also coming out in November. So it's just crazy. So like my backlog's gonna get even crazier and crazier, and I appreciate you guys have been coming through and just coming to my channel and just appreciate my thoughts and my opinions on RPGs here on this channel. And even though that my channel is more so dedicated to both JRPGs and fighting games, it seems a lot of you guys have been just tuning in more so for the RPGs, and I really appreciate that because that's pretty much a genre that I have been in love with ever since I was a young kid, and it still carries true to this day. And I also give Xenoblade Chronicles 2 special thanks, is because that was the time where I really wasn't playing RPGs because of how busy my life has become, especially being an adult, being a full-time single father, entrepreneur, said the whole 9 yards before. So the fact is that that RPG was able to convince me to come back to actually play RPGs. And ever since that, I've just been on a binge for the past couple of months, and I like to continue to keep that going. So we're gonna go through my backlog, and we're gonna show you guys what games that I have. And if you haven't heard of these games, hopefully this may, I guess, encourage you to actually look into the games yourselves. So let's do this. Well, for starters, we're gonna have Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch, I believe, I guess you could say it's pretty much the same amount as my other consoles, but Nintendo Switch, I have quite a lot, as you can see here, and most of them are not even open. They're still in the plastic. This backlog is just ridiculous. So the game that I still have yet to actually play, this RPG is Octopath Traveler for the Nintendo Switch. Now the funny thing is, I bought this game on launch, pre-ordered and everything, and still have yet to open it. Now, if you guys don't know, Octopath Traveler is, of course, made by Square Enix, and Square Enix has been doing something quite different. They pretty much been experimenting for the past couple years now, where what they're doing is, a lot of people love the old Square when they were Squaresoft, and they made some of the best JRPG experiences of the early 90s up into the early 2000s, and then they have pretty much fallen off ever since. It seemed like they've fallen off the most ever since they pretty much merged with Enix, but they decided to alleviate that by creating a studio and a team that's dedicated to creating more of those 90 JRPG experiences, things that they had done in the past, the golden era of JRPGs, and Octopath Traveler was the byproduct of that. And of course, they decided to go with a more unique style called HD 2D, where it has that 90s or SNES pixelated beautiful artwork and design and stuff. And my first experience with the art style was actually, believe it or not, Alive Alive, which I've done a review on. So this is the game that actually started this art style. And the funny thing about it is, I read in an article somewhere that Square Enix had pretty much copywritten the style, so I believe that you can't replicate the style or something like that. But I look more into it and do a video about it, but I thought that was pretty cool. And then of course we're gonna follow up with another Square Enix RPG, JRPG. In fact, it's actually a strategy RPG called Triangle Strategy, and this is another thing that Square Enix had followed up on as far as the HD 2D art style, and they wanted to get back into the strategy RPG or tactical RPGs, especially Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics was the tactical RPG that really had gotten me into tactics games, and ever since then I've just been hooked, and that's what made me get into Tactics Ogre for the PS1, and I just started going around looking for tactics games. Well, they decided to give a revisit to this genre with Triangle Strategy for the Nintendo Switch, and I have yet to open this. This is another game that I pre-ordered and never got around to it, so I definitely need to get around to this. But from what I've heard, this is a really good game, a solid game, and not only that, if you're going to play it, you're going to have to dedicate your time to it. So that's why I wanted to leave some room for me to actually sit back and dedicate my time to actually playing it. So I didn't just want to open it, pop it in, play it for a little bit, and then come back to it later. And I already knew that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was on the way to release, and Alive at the time. So I definitely really couldn't really have that chance to really spend time with this. And then of course, another Square Enix game. It's funny, Square Enix has been dominating Nintendo Switch, and I love it because they give me a lot of the JRPG goodness. I mean, classics. And what we have here is Bravely Default 2, which is a sequel to the Nintendo, I believe, 3DS experience, which is Bravely Default, the first game, and this is the follow-up on the Nintendo Switch. So of course it's a perfect home for the Nintendo Switch. And I have the first one on 3DS and really love it. And what happened is, what Square Enix decided to do was, since Final Fantasy is going away from, I guess you could say, turn-based combat now, and they're going more in the action RPG direction with their series, they decided that, hey, we can at least take Final Fantasy and give the traditional Final Fantasy turn-based class system and all those type of mechanics, and actually make a new IP that pretty much pays homage to the original Final Fantasy. So this one's more traditional to what we know and love and grew up with Final Fantasy. So they put it in the Bravely Default IP. And I love from what I played in the demo, and I gave my opinion on the demo because Nintendo, or I would say Square Enix, has been doing a good job with Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, and even this game by giving us demos. They actually try it out, give feedback, and even carry that data over to the actual game when it actually releases, which I also think is pretty cool. And they've done the same thing with this, and I gave my opinion with my brothers on the Game Fiends podcast that we have, and we definitely need to get back to that podcast. I know a lot of you guys been asking what's going on with that, but we definitely need to get back into that. But yeah, I'm definitely going to step into this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it during the holidays, like Thanksgiving holiday or the Christmas holiday, but I definitely need to get around to this and sink some hours into this. And yet again, another Square game. This one right here, of course, Dragon Quest XI. Was it Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition? I had bought this game when it launched. I really enjoyed the demo that Square Enix have had yet again on Nintendo Switch. And actually, to be honest with you, this is actually my first Dragon Quest experience. I'm not really a Dragon Quest guy. I was more of a Final Fantasy guy, and I just couldn't get into Dragon Quest at all at the time. And I believe what really definitely wanted me to give this game a try is the fact is that I really enjoyed Dragon Quest Heroes 2 for the PS4, and that's pretty much a cross between Dynasty Warriors with Dragon Quest, and it has a lot of Dragon Quest elements, and it really introduced me to the world of Dragon Quest because it took various different characters from the Dragon Quest world, and I ended up liking it. And because of that game, I end up saying, you know what, I'm gonna give Dragon Quest XI a try. And you know what the funny thing about it is, I bought Dragon Quest XI Elusive Age on the PS4 when it launched at first, and never got around to it, and it's still in the plastic. And then I waited so long, it ended up coming out with a definitive edition on the Switch, and haven't really played this just yet. And now I'm talking about getting it for the Xbox Series X as well. Like, you know, so yeah, my backlog is crazy, but I definitely want to give this game a chance. And I know when it comes to Dragon Quest games, you're going to have to put some time into it. You're going to have to spend some hours into playing this game. So I definitely going to give this a try. I just don't know when I'm going to give it a try, knowing that the next couple RPGs from September to October is going to be ridiculously nuts, and I want to hop on those right away first. So definitely want to give this a try, especially before Dragon Quest 12 releases. And of course, we have the final Nintendo Switch JRPG, and it's not a Square JRPG for once, but I'm definitely looking forward to actually trying this. And this was pretty much on my radar for a very long time, and just never got around to playing it. Which is this game right here. It's called Destiny Connect. Now, Destiny Connect is a JRPG that most people don't even know anything about, and it was released on the Nintendo Switch and the PS4 at the time. So this game is about 2 or 3 years old now and still in the plastic. But what really caught my attention is the actual art style of the game. The game really reminds me of something back in the late 90s to early 2000s with the art style, and the art style pretty much reminisced of Earthbound. I really love the chibi art design that it has, and it's a traditional turn-based JRPG that really just struck my interest. And I found this game actually from a Nintendo Switch dedicated YouTube channel, and I can't remember what the channel was, but I remember seeing the thumbnail that caught my eyes, and it was this right here, and it said a new JRPG experience coming to Nintendo Switch. And it was pretty much a video showing a Japanese magazine, Famitsu magazine I believe it was, that had scans of the actual game. And then that's when I started wanting to do my research, and it was nothing really much said about the game until much later, where we actually started seeing I think at Tokyo Game Show they ended up showing some gameplay of it and everything. And I said, you know what, I want to buy it. Keellancer ended up getting the game first, and he completed it, and I just glanced at it and I was like, yeah, this is definitely the game for me, and it's definitely a game I want to actually try out. So expect for me to actually try it this year. I'm thinking about playing this around the Thanksgiving holiday or the Christmas break, and expect the full impressions and also a review when I get around to actually playing it. Remember, it's called Destiny Connect. Look into the trailers, it may be something that you may like. So we're going to move on. Now next we're going to move over to Sony. Now the thing is, as far as Xbox is concerned, you guys already know that I finished Scarlet Nexus, which I still have yet to put a review up. They'll probably be up this week sometime. And of course, Yakuza Like a Dragon for the Xbox Series X. So they are the only RPGs that I have, JRPGs that I have on my Xbox Series X. But the following JRPGs I will have on the Xbox. For those of you who are curious and have an Xbox and want to know and hear my opinion about RPGs, especially JRPGs, you'll definitely be hearing a lot of it, because Star Ocean, I will be getting for the Xbox Series X, and I'll also be getting DioField Chronicles for the Xbox Series X, which also has a demo you can go check out. I didn't want to get a demo because I already knew this was going to be a game that I really want to get into and I know I'm going to like, so I decided that, hey, I'm going to just buy the game when it comes out. So those of you who just wondering, hey, Mugen Lord, what's up with the Xbox JRPGs? You know, what's your opinion on them? So you'll definitely be hearing more from Xbox pretty soon with the following RPGs. So we're going to move on to Sony. Right here, I have one hell of a backlog, I guess you would say. This one really has my interest, and this game is called Edge of Eternity. Now, Edge of Eternity is actually an indie RPG that pretty much caught my eye back when it was on Steam during the early release. My brother Keellancer was actually playing it on his PC at one point a few years ago, and now the game finally have an official release and it's been released on consoles. Now, speaking of Xbox, I was considering, and matter of fact, my eyes was actually set on playing this game on the Xbox Series X. Now, the problem was, the reason why I didn't get it for the Xbox Series X, because it was digital only, and it was only going to be released on Game Pass. And you know me, I love my physical copies, and since it wasn't offering physical, it was kind of a bummer. But the Sony PS5 version was the only exclusive version that had a physical copy. So if you wanted physical, it's exclusive only to the PS5. And I ended up getting the PS5 version because of the boxes. Other than that, if they had a box physical version for the Xbox Series X, I would have got it for the Xbox Series X. But this is a JRPG that, or RPG in general, that that just struck my interest. And I believe the price tag as well, that really made me want to actually get into it, because if you guys don't know, the game is actually $40. You can't beat that. Now that's old school right there. Remember when games was $40? Yeah. So this game is actually $40, and from the art design, the character design, it looks pretty cool, and you can tell it's an indie game. So I would say this: I'm not going in expecting a Final Fantasy type quality or a Final Fantasy type experience, but for $40. And you can get a JRPG like this and a physical copy on the PS5, it's well worth the try. And I definitely want to try it out. And I know a lot of you guys been asking me when I tweeted it out when I first got the game. You guys were asking me, how is the game, or let me know when you play the game, how is it, because they've been looking into it. So sorry I've been waiting too long, but I'm definitely going to be getting into this game this year along with Destiny Connect. So you'll definitely get a first impressions and also a review for this as well. So stay tuned. And another game that I have to get back to is Final Fantasy Origins: Strangers of Paradise. Now, I said before, this is pretty much a crossover between a Souls-like game in Final Fantasy, and it's made by Koei Tecmo Games, the people who made Neo, which is their own version of a Dark Souls game. But the fact is that it's a Final Fantasy themed Souls game with a class system. And you know I love my class systems in my RPGs, and you know I had to pick it up and give it a try. And before that, what made me actually pick it up was because I actually played the demo, and the demo was quite fun. And it's also 3 players, it's multiplayer, so you can be able to play with random players or play with your friends. And that's something that I'm experiencing with my brother Keel Lancer and DX Strike. I just haven't gotten back to it because I knew Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and a lot of other games was coming, and I've just been bogged down. I said, you know what, I'll put this down, I'll come back to it later. So I'm definitely going to finish this sometime this year, and I've been streaming it too, so I may stream it even more and give you my overall review of it as well. So of course it's Dragon Quest. Also we have this game right here, which is Ys Memories of Celceta. This was originally I believe a PlayStation Vita game back a couple years ago, and they finally released this game about 2 years ago on the PS4. And I bought this when it released. This the collector's edition or the timeless adventure edition that I decided to go pick up. I need to get it because I love Falcom. Falcom is an underrated JRPG company. In fact, it's the father of all JRPG companies that don't really get a lot of credit that they actually deserve. My first introduction to Falcom was Ys on the PSP, the first original PSP, and I think that was Ys 6, and I really enjoyed that. It's an action RPG with a great, amazing soundtrack, a great, amazing cast of characters, and not only that, the main character is named Adol, and all the games is about Adol and his great adventures where he travels amongst the world and he gets into all these different situations. Now, most of these games are standalone games. Every once in a while you may see characters from previous games, but they really don't leave no bounding effect to where you need to know about the previous games in order to get into the game that you're playing. So you can jump into any Ys game and actually enjoy them as a standalone game. So Ys Memories of Celceta is no different. I had to get this game, and most likely I'll probably open it up probably near the end of the year or start it in 2023 when my slate is cleaned from playing the other JRPGs. But I'm definitely going to get into it. Now, this is pretty much it for the physical copies of my backlog. Now, I do want to talk about some of the JRPGs that I do have, or the RPGs that I have for my digital, because yes, I have a digital backlog. I wouldn't say I have a lot as far as digital, as far as the digital backlog is concerned. When it comes to digital, I have both physical and digital of this one game, which is Sword Art Online, which is the gun arc. That's the one that I have. I haven't opened that. That's still on the plastic on the PS4, but I also have the PC version of the game as well. So I'm considering getting into that, but I definitely want to hear your opinions about that. Let me know how's that game. Like, have you ever played it before? Is people still playing it? Is there an online community for it, for the multiplayer? Definitely let me know in the comment section below. I bought the game because I liked how the game looked. Yeah, it looked really interesting to me, and I said, you know, let me just go do a blind purchase of this, because I had you know, money, just throw away money. So I was like, let me just give this a try, and I have yet to get around to it. So I have the PC version and I have the PS4 version. So you know I'm gonna play the PC version, but I definitely need to hear your thoughts on that as well in the comment sections below. And then also I have another digital JRPG or RPG. It's also an indie game called Eastward. Now this is a game that I've been following for a very long time, and I finally get the game and haven't really played it just yet. Now I had bought the game last Christmas of 2021 and never really got around to actually playing it, because that Christmas I was just playing games at the games, just switching around and not staying with them for too long. But from what I've played of Eastward, I definitely enjoyed it, and now since I've been pumped with playing RPGs for the past couple of months, I'm definitely going to go dive back into Eastward, because that's something that really has a nostalgic feel to it. It reminds me back of the early 90s with pixel animations and the SNES era of games, 16-bit, and from what I played so far, the story is really interesting. So I'm definitely gonna dive into that and actually give you my first impressions and actually give you my overall review once it's actually done. So stay tuned for that. And then the last digital RPG that I do have is Trails in the Sky, the very first game. And the Trails series is also made by Falcom, the people who made the Yi series. And I heard a lot of good things about the Trails series. And people said, if you love JRPGs, Mugen Lord, you definitely need to get into it. And this is a long extending JRPG that's all in one universe. This is like the MCU of RPGs. Like everything has a connection to each other. They happen in different parts of the world, of the same world. So I definitely need to get into it, and I feel as though that if I'm going to get into it, I'd rather get into it from the very beginning. Now, Trails in the Sky, I have bought it on Steam years ago, just never installed it. So I want to play the original game first, and then I'll follow along and play in a particular order to whatever is released that I'm able to get on my hands that's released here in the States, and give it a try, because I do want to do a whole marathon of the Trail series and actually do breakdowns and actually just give my overall experience of what I think about the series thus far, because I've been seeing a lot of people praising the Trail series and I really want to get into it. So definitely let me know in the comment section below what you think about the Trail series and your own opinion, if you have ever played any of the Trails games. I definitely need to know and like to know in the comment section below. But pretty much that's essentially it. I'm also waiting for Sea of Tears that's coming out for the Nintendo Switch as well, which is another indie RPG that's actually inspired by Chrono Trigger and a few other JRPGs in the 90s. And I believe they have one of the music composers that worked on Chrono Trigger offered a few tracks to add into the game. So I'm really looking forward to that. Definitely leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I would like to know what your backlog is when it comes to RPGs in general, and do you think you're able to clear some of your backlog this year, and are you picking up any of the JRPGs that's coming out for the rest of the year, such as Valkyrie Elysium, DioField Chronicles, and of course Star Ocean and Tactics Ogre Reborn. Definitely like to hear that, and I appreciate all the love. And I also still want to thank you guys for tuning in to my Xenoblade Chronicles 3 content that I have, and my most recent Xenoblade Chronicles 3 video where I talked about my opinion about the story. It's a lot of spoilers in that, so if you're interested, check it out. And a lot of you guys have been leaving your opinions, and we've been having respectful dialogue about our opinions and what we think about the story, and I appreciate that, so go check it out. So even though this channel is dedicated to fighting games and RPGs, a lot of you guys have been loving the RPGs, and I'm going to continue that trend here on this channel. So if you like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and also hit that bell to be notified for more gaming news, RPG news in the near future. This is Mugen Lord signing off. I'll see you Game Fiends later. Peace out.